"I want you so much. I want you very much too, my Sultan," Rouslana replied, her voice full of love. Time seemed to have stopped. The world had become just that room. When Rouslana returned to the harem quarters, her world had completely darkened. As she removed that magnificent dress, it seemed as though pieces of her soul were falling away with it. What she saw in the mirror was no longer that confident, beautiful girl. In her place stood only a broken, pride-lost, disillusioned young concubine. The moment she entered the room, the other concubines waiting in the corridor saw her condition. Silence reigned, but the "we knew it" expression in their eyes wounded Rouslana even deeper. Even Gulsum pitied her, but at the same time, there was a hidden satisfaction in her eyes. Who did this girl think she was? When Rouslana locked herself in her room and removed that beautiful dress, each piece seemed to take a part of her soul with it. Looking in the mirror, that self-assured, beautiful girl was no longer there. Only a broken, hurt, disappointed young concubine remained. "How could this happen?" she whispered to herself. "He had summoned me. Me." As tears streamed down her cheeks, nothing remained of that evening's magnificent appearance. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes red, her delicate face marked with lines of sorrow. The next morning, when she emerged into the harem's common area, the situation worsened. The other concubines had gathered around, speaking in low voices. "Do you see?" said one of the concubines with a giggle. "How prepared she was last night." "As if nothing happened," added another. "She must have forgotten how powerful Mahidevran Sultan is." When Rouslana heard these words, the pain inside her turned to anger. She walked toward them, her eyes blazing. "What are you laughing at?" she hissed. These words stabbed into Rouslana. Tears began to flow again. "Did you think you were more beautiful than Mahidevran Sultan? Did you think the Sultan would fall in love with you the moment he saw you?" Laughter rose. Rouslana's world was crumbling. Last night she had felt so beautiful. She had looked so perfect in the mirror. "Leave her alone," said Layla, stepping in. "Can't you see what state she's in?" But Rouslana could no longer bear it. She ran back to her room and slammed the door shut. Meanwhile, Mahidevran Sultan was silently celebrating her victory in her own quarters. A satisfied smile played on her lips. How easy it had been. Looking at herself in the mirror, she fixed her hair. The moment spent with the Sultan last night was still fresh in her mind. How successfully she had reminded him of the old days. "My prince is growing up," she whispered to herself, "and I'm still here." What was that Russian girl? When Nigar Kalfa entered the room, she saw Mahidevran in this state. "Sultan Hatun," said Nigar Kalfa, "the harem is very active this morning." "I know," said Mahidevran with a smile. "That girl was humiliated. Who is she to compete where I am?" "Yes, they say she cried a lot." Mahidevran stood up and walked toward the window. Good, maybe now she'll know her place. But her heart wasn't completely at peace. If she wasn't careful, this victory could be temporary. "Nigar," she said finally, "keep that Russian girl under surveillance. Find out what she's doing." "As you command, Sultan Hatun." Sultan Suleiman angrily summoned Ibrahim Pasha that morning. Fire blazed from his emerald eyes in rage. He hadn't been able to see the concubine who had ignited his imagination and left him in wonder. Of course, Mahidevran, the mother of his only child, was his precious one, his greatest love. But for the first time, the Sultan had wanted to see that young concubine who made his heart tremble so, Rouslana?" When Ibrahim entered the room, he saw the expression on the Sultan's face. This wasn't a good sign. "Ibrahim," said the Sultan, his voice harsh, "what happened last night?" Ibrahim Pasha bowed his head. "I seek your forgiveness, my Sultan. I had summoned Rouslana. Where did Mahidevran come from?" Ibrahim Pasha was sweating. "My Sultan, Mahidevran's Sultan said she wanted to see you. I couldn't stop her." "How could you allow such a thing?" The Sultan's voice was rising. "I had given an order." "My Sultan, this was an accomplished fact. Mahidevran's Sultan appeared at the door saying she had come for a visit. I couldn't refuse." The Sultan stood up and began pacing the room angrily. "So that girl prepared for nothing. She came for nothing. Unfortunately, that's what happened, my Sultan." "I'm deeply sorry." The Sultan stopped and looked at Ibrahim. There was disappointment in his eyes. "Did you ever think about that young girl's feelings? What did she feel, I wonder?" Ibrahim bowed his head even lower. "My Sultan is right. I'm very sorry." The Sultan walked to the window and looked toward the harem quarters. What state was Rouslana in now? What disappointment was written on that beautiful face? The Sultan was passing by the harem as usual. These were the only moments when the Padishah could see the concubines living in the harem. The girls would line up at the windows and bow respectfully. This morning too, the concubines had lined up as usual. Rouslana was among them, but her head was bowed, not looking at anyone. Those beautiful green eyes were dull and hopeless. Her pride was broken. When the Sultan saw them, he noticed Rouslana. There was no trace of that warm-eyed girl. Rouslana was looking at the ground with a wounded, broken pride. That beautiful face was pale, her eyes red. She truly believed she was unwanted. Even though he was the magnificent Suleiman, justice was his greatest sensitivity. He was a man of his word. The Sultan held an embroidered purple silk handkerchief in his hand. This carried special meaning in Ottoman palace tradition. Whichever concubine's feet the Padishah dropped his purple handkerchief in front of would be the sign that he would summon that concubine that night. The Sultan hesitated, then with a determined movement, dropped the purple handkerchief in front of Rouslana. All the concubines in the harem held their breath. The purple handkerchief. The Sultan had chosen Rouslana. At first, Rouslana didn't understand what had happened. When she raised her head, she saw the purple handkerchief at her feet. Her heart nearly stopped. Purple handkerchief. What did this mean? The concubines around her began to whisper, "Purple handkerchief. The Sultan has summoned her again. Tonight is her night." Rouslana picked up the handkerchief. The silk fabric was soft. The gold embroidery on it sparkled. This was the Padishah's promise to her. She would truly be summoned tonight. Her eyes filled, but these were tears of joy. The Sultan hadn't forgotten her. He still wanted her. Layla ran to her side. "Rouslana! What great fortune!" The other concubines now looked at her with admiration. The girl they had mocked had now been chosen by the Sultan. Gulsum's face had turned pale. How could this be? Rouslana pressed the handkerchief to her chest. "This time," she whispered, "this time, nothing will go wrong." That afternoon, the harem had stirred again. This time, Rouslana's preparation would be even more careful. Shah Sultan Hatun personally oversaw it. "Tonight," said Shah Sultan, "everything will be perfect. Nothing will go wrong." There was a determined expression on Rouslana's face. "Yes," she said. "This time, I'm ready." When she was taken to the bath, this time she had more confidence. With the previous experience, she now knew what to expect. As she lay on the warm marble, her thoughts were filled with the Sultan. "This time, I'll be the woman he truly wants." The attendants washed her body carefully. Again, the most beautiful soaps were lathered on her body. Rose, lavender, and jasmine mixtures. Each one surrounded Rouslana with a different fragrance. Her red hair was washed with a mixture of honey and olive oil, combed until it shone, then rinsed with cold water. Every inch of her body was carefully dried. This time, she was massaged with the most expensive oils: amber, musk, and sandalwood oils. With the touch of skilled hands, both her skin was nourished and began to emit magnificent scents. Her nails were carefully cut, filed, lightly colored with henna. Her eyebrows were shaped into delicate lines. Her kohl-lined eyelashes were lengthened, her eyes made even more prominent. Finally, special perfumes were applied to her pulse points, behind her ears, neck, wrists. Everywhere was adorned with different but harmonious scents. This time, the dress selection was even more important. The masters thought long and hard. Finally, a decision was made. Fire red. A fire red silk kaftan embroidered with gold threads, decorated with pearls. This color created perfect harmony with Rouslana's red hair. It was as if flames were rising from her body. Her shalva was white silk. Golden slippers with silver embroidery were put on her feet. Her hair was carefully braided, decorated with pearls and golden pins. A thin tulle veil was placed on her head. When she looked in the mirror, her breath was taken away. The woman before her was completely different. The fire-red dress seemed to reflect the flames emanating from her body. Her green eyes appeared even more enchanting within this red. While the red waves of her hair were held with golden pins, a few curls fell gently to her cheeks. Her neck was long and graceful. The pearl necklace beneath it made the whiteness of her skin even more prominent. "This time," she murmured to the mirror, "this time no one can stop me." There were great dreams in her eyes. Maybe she would become the Sultan's favorite, maybe his second wife, or even, who knows, maybe his only spouse. Mahidevran was now in the past, an old, worn, angry woman. But I am young, beautiful, vibrant. This is what the Sultan needs. She looked in the mirror one last time. She was perfect. When Nigar Kalfa came to get her, she looked at her with admiration. "Mashallah," she said, "you look very beautiful." "Thank you," said Rouslana, smiling slightly. Her heart was beating wildly, but there was a confident expression on her face. "Now I am different," she thought. "Now I am special." As they approached the Sultan's room, her excitement grew. Her heart was beating so fast that she had difficulty breathing. "Stay calm," she told herself. "Everything will be perfect." There was a strange heat inside her. It was as if flames were truly emanating from her body. This fire-red dress wasn't just appearance. It also reflected the passion within her. She imagined the Sultan, that handsome face, those deep gazes, those strong arms. Tonight, she would be in those arms. Tonight, she would ignite flames in the Sultan's embrace. How will he receive me? What will he say? What will his first touch be like? These thoughts both excited and frightened her. She had never been so close to any man. But this was the Sultan. Everything would be different with him. When they reached the door of the Sultan's room, Ibrahim Pasha was waiting at the door. This time, there was a different expression on his face: satisfaction and relief. "Ibrahim Pasha," said Nigar Khalfa, "I've brought Rouslana Hatun." Ibrahim Pasha smiled. "Our Sultan is waiting." Rouslana's heart nearly stopped. "Is this real? Is this really happening?" "Enter," said Ibrahim Pasha, opening the door slightly. Rouslana took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit with candles, gold-embroidered carpets, silk furnishings, precious objects. What a magnificent, grand room this was. She wanted to be in this room every day by the Sultan's side. His handsomeness enchanted her again. Tall, strong body, noble posture. The silk kaftan fit his body perfectly. His hair was dark brown, his beard carefully trimmed. But the most striking feature was his eyes. Those deep eyes that read the depths of the soul with their gaze. Now they were looking at her, and in that gaze there was both power and compassion. "Rouslana," said the Sultan, his voice deep and soft. Hearing this name from his mouth, Rouslana's knees trembled. She immediately bowed respectfully. "My Sultan," she whispered. The Sultan approached her. With each step, Rouslana's breath seemed to be cut off. "Raise your head," said the Sultan. "I told you before, don't be afraid of me." Rouslana slowly raised her head. Her green eyes met the Sultan's eyes. In that moment of eye contact, electricity struck between them. "What beauty is this? From which land did they bring you?" said the Sultan, admiration in his voice. "Thank you, my Sultan." The Sultan circled around her, observing her. "This red, it suits you very well. It's as if you're surrounded by flames." Rouslana smiled. "I wanted to wear the most beautiful for you, my Sultan." The Sultan stopped and looked at her face. "I wanted you to come last night, but there was a change. I'm sorry I couldn't see you yesterday." These words touched Rouslana's heart. The Sultan was almost apologizing indirectly. What great kindness this was. Had the great Suleiman apologized to win the heart of the slave Rouslana? "My Sultan," said Rouslana, gathering courage. "I was also sad for missing you, but now I'm here. This is enough for me." The Sultan liked her bold words. Most concubines couldn't speak in his presence. They trembled, but this girl was different. "Sit," said the Sultan, pointing to the divan next to him. Rouslana sat gracefully. The Sultan also sat next to her. The closeness between them took Rouslana's breath away. "Tell me about yourself, Rouslana," said the Sultan. "Where do you come from? How did you find yourself here?" Rouslana told her story. How she was taken from Ukraine, the journey, her arrival at the palace. The Sultan listened attentively, her voice rising and falling, her pure white skin, her chest heaving. That voice, those expressions, sometimes a little girl, pure and fresh, suddenly becoming a woman matured by pain. She made the Sultan question all the emotions he had felt until today. Even if this girl talked until morning, even for days and nights, he wouldn't get bored. That energy, that innocence, that charm. Her eyes sparkled with light. "Do you miss your family?" asked the Sultan. "Sometimes," said Rouslana honestly. "But I have a new life here. And now I've met you." These words affected the Sultan. The sincerity on Rouslana's face, the sparkle in her eyes. "We heard your songs from afar," said the Sultan. "Would you sing a song especially for me?" Rouslana was surprised but pleased. "Of course, my Sultan." She stood up and began to sing an old Ukrainian folk song. Her voice filled the room, touched the Sultan's heart. What a beautiful, what an enchanting voice this was. When the song ended, the Sultan applauded. "Magnificent," he said. This word enchanted Rouslana. The Sultan was in love with her voice. The Sultan stood up and approached her. "Rouslana," he said, his voice now lower. "Just like you." He extended his hand and touched Rouslana's cheeks. This touch made her tremble. The Sultan's hands were strong but gentle. "My Sultan," whispered Rouslana. The closeness between them had increased. Rouslana, of course, knew why she had come there, but these lengthy conversations had suddenly dispersed that atmosphere. She had unconsciously thrown off that tension. The Sultan drew her to himself. Now their eyes were very close. What great excitement had seized her body. She didn't know what she was feeling. "Are you afraid?" asked the Sultan. Rouslana raised her head and looked at him. "No," she said bravely. "I'm safe with you." This answer pleased the Sultan. He lowered his head and gently touched Rouslana's lips. With this touch, the young woman's world changed. This first kiss was gentle and careful, as if the Sultan understood how sensitive she was. Rouslana's heart was beating so fast that she had difficulty breathing. The Sultan moved his hands first on her chin, her neck, then on the exposed parts of her skin. Each touch created new waves in Rouslana's body. This was a warmth she had never felt before. Then he moved his hands to that red hair. While caressing her hair tenderly, he suddenly gripped those locks tightly and pulled Rouslana to himself. Their warm lips met. This kiss, which began gently, took on a passionate and intense nature. As these kisses prolonged, Rouslana completely lost herself. She wanted this kiss to last for hours now. This was very beautiful, very exciting. Places in her body that she had never known before were awakening. She felt safe in the Sultan's strong arms. The Sultan hugged her tighter. "My beautiful Rouslana," he whispered in her ear. His breath was warm and burning on her ear. These words penetrated Rouslana's soul. "My beautiful Rouslana." How beautiful this sentence was. It echoed in her ears. He had seen so many girls, but he couldn't remember feeling what he felt with this girl. For a moment, he thought of Mahidevran with guilt. How was it with her? He seemed to remember, but this comparison wasn't right. Because this delicate, tender girl he was holding in his arms now was unique and drove him crazy every second. Being a sultan already meant having everything in the first place. Whatever he wanted was ultimately his. But from the first moment he saw this girl, his only desire wasn't to possess her. He wanted to know those beautiful eyes, to feel her soul deeply. He wanted to possess not only the body but also the heart of this seemingly innocent but bold-eyed girl. This was a game of desire where soul and body intertwined. In this game, now the stage belonged to their bodies. "My beautiful Rouslana," he said, and he gently released the hair he had gripped. Now he wanted to explore this snow-white body with his hands. Under the fire-red fabric were Rouslana's delicate shoulders, graceful waistline. There was a firm chest décolletage visible from the folds of her dress. He wanted to trace his fingers everywhere on her and watch the feelings he awakened in this girl. Rouslana was making small moans with each touch. Each touch created a new tremor in her. These sounds were preparing Suleiman for the next step. He had seen many concubines in the nights of this palace, but few had challenged him with courage. Rouslana was one of those girls. In this girl's gaze, there was both invitation and a little shyness. The Sultan, reaching the peaks of pleasure from these small breaths, pulled the concubine firmly to himself. "You are very beautiful," whispered the Sultan, his breath wandering over her neck. As the night progressed, two hearts grew closer to each other. The Sultan led Rouslana to the edge of the bed. In the candlelight, Rouslana's beauty was even more striking. The fire-red dress seemed to reflect the flames emanating from her body. But Suleiman now wanted more and roughly untied the strings of her kaftan. With one swift motion, Rouslana was now ready for the next move. Was her body burning inside with fire, or had it really become hot? She helped the Sultan remove the kaftan. Inside was a thin nightgown of satin. This was perfect craftsmanship from the hands of the palace's most talented tailors. It would suit anyone who wore it. Perhaps it was such a beautiful piece. But on Rouslana's perfect, tender body, it was a masterpiece. In the places where candlelight reflected on the dress, Rouslana's curved lines were visible. Her hips and legs were full and plump. She had a very thin waist. Her firm, full breasts were now too exposed to be hidden. The Sultan now examined her a little more. It was as if he was about to unwrap a gift. He didn't want to damage the packaging. He paused his earlier rough touches a bit. As if savoring this moment, he examined this girl in detail. Rouslana was embarrassed. She covered her eyes with her hands and smiled, lowering her head. For the first time, she was so naked in front of a man. The Sultan moved his hands to her hair again to initiate another moment of closeness. Those auburn curls slipped through his fingers like silk. "This hair," said the Sultan, "like real flames. And these eyes." He looked into Rouslana's green eyes. "They enchant me." Rouslana trembled. How gentle the Sultan's touch was, how tender. "My Sultan," she said softly, "I too am lost in your eyes. Every time you look at me, I find myself in fairy tale lands I've never known." The Sultan smiled. He loved this sincerity. Other concubines were always timid, fearful. But Rouslana was different. She was someone unafraid to express her feelings. This time, she undid the buttons on the Sultan's kaftan. The Sultan embraced Rouslana. He gently laid her down on the silk coverings. He touched her lips again. Now Rouslana was responding too, and this kiss was becoming even more deep. "Don't be afraid," he whispered in her ear. "I'm with you. Everything will be beautiful." "How beautiful you are," murmured the Sultan, "as if you were created from moonlight." As the night deepened, the distance between two hearts had also diminished. In the flickering light of the candles, the young woman's beauty appeared even more enchanting. Among the silk sheets, her skin glowed like gold in the reflection of the candles. Rouslana's auburn hair had spread across the pillows like waves of fire. "My beautiful Rouslana," whispered the Sultan, his voice full of love. Rouslana's heart was beating wildly. A warmth she had never felt before was spreading within her. The Sultan's presence both excited her and filled her with peace. "You have such soft skin," said the Sultan, as his fingers gently wandered over her hands and arms. Like silk, Rouslana closed her eyes, surrendering herself to the Sultan's tender touches. This closeness, these loving moments awakened completely different feelings in her. As the Sultan held her tightly, he whispered in her ear, "I want you so much." "I want you very much too, my Sultan," Rouslana replied, her voice full of love. In the candlelight, the eyes of two lovers met. In that gaze was both passion and a deep connection. The Sultan looked at Rouslana's face with tenderness. "Don't look away from my eyes," said the Sultan softly. "I want to remember this moment." These words deeply affected Rouslana. As she looked into the Sultan's eyes, completely different feelings arose in her heart. In the silence of the night, only the crackling of candles and the beating of two hearts could be heard. Time seemed to have stopped. The world had become just that room. As the Sultan held Rouslana, both of their breathing had quickened. The closeness between them, this magical moment, was carrying them both to a completely different world. "Ah, Rouslana," sighed the Sultan, resting his head on her shoulder. "What kind of enchantress are you?" Rouslana was only feeling. The warmth inside her had spread throughout her body. In the Sultan's arms, she felt completely safe. And when that magical moment came, in the candlelight, two hearts found each other. Silently, deeply, their souls touched. Afterwards, as the Sultan lovingly held Rouslana, both were filled with happiness. "You are perfect," whispered the Sultan, stroking her hair. "You are truly very special, my beautiful Rouslana." Rouslana was crying from happiness. This night, this closeness was more beautiful than she had ever imagined. The Sultan was not just a sultan, but also a very loving person. "I am very happy too," she said, resting her head on the Sultan's chest. "Very, very happy." The Sultan held her tighter. This young woman awakened completely different feelings in him. This was different, intense, full of love. While Rouslana slept peacefully in the Sultan's arms, the Sultan was stroking her hair, watching that beautiful face. This night would be a turning point in his life. He could feel it. As the candles slowly melted away, two lovers rested in peace, embraced in each other's arms. While dawn broke outside, only the warmth of love reigned in the room. When dawn came, Rouslana was sleeping in the Sultan's arms. Her breathing was steady, her face peaceful. The Sultan was watching her. "What a beautiful woman," he was thinking. "How quickly she stole my heart." Rouslana opened her eyes and saw that the Sultan was looking at her with loving eyes. She smiled shyly. The Sultan took her chin and lifted her face, looking deeply into her eyes. "From now on, your name will be Hurrem," he said. Rouslana looked at him with great astonishment. "Hurrem? What does Hurrem mean, my Sultan?" she said. "Hurrem means joyful, cheerful. This name suits your beauty and your joy." Hurrem smiled to herself. She repeated the name silently to herself. "Hürrem Sultan," she said. Hurrem's birth was beginning that night in that room. Rouslana had already died in that harem. Thank you for watching. If you would like to listen to the continuation of this magical night in episode 6, please write in the comments. We will publish the continuation of this series based on your requests. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay updated. See you in the next story.